So my name is Jay Kumar. Good morning and welcome to all for joining this session today. And thank you for taking the time out to join us and Codebase in this webinar. I don't want to say much about us. Basically, IITC has been in this business for over 25-30 years in Oman. We are a systems integrator. We have done many successful implementations over the years across business verticals, which includes banking. So we have most of the banks in Oman do business with us in various areas, whether it's hardware, software, system integration, networks, security, and banking solutions like the one we are trying to introduce today. Just to give you a background, we have been pioneers in bringing new technologies to the market. We were the first to introduce SWIFT, if you remember the SWIFT days, and SMS banking when it came newly to the world. Even recently, we have brought some partners who do data classification works for some of the banks with our help. So today we are introducing Codebase Technologies. Primarily, they are a global open API banking solution provider with presence across 4 continents. Enables banks and financial institutions, both conventional and Islamic, as well as the emerging fintech ecosystem to demystify, as they call it, digital financial services through its award-winning suite of products, which includes DigiBank, which is a bank in a box. Again, a terminology used by Codebase. They really help customers unlock true potential of the next generation, digital financial ecosystem. I would like to introduce the panelists, Raheel Iqbal, a very seasoned financial technologist advising leading financial institutions on 4 different continents, apart from the region, focusing on finance and technology strategies, product development, and technology implementation. Raheel is also an influential speaker and facilitator on various technology and finance related topics, including banking, payments, fintech in the GCC as well as globally. He also sits on the board of numerous fintech startups and advises traditional financial institutions on fintegration strategy, which is financial integration strategies. As managing partner and global product head at Codebase, he has played an instrumental role in the launch of 3 digital-only banks within GCC and Europe, which is amazing. When you say digital-only bank, I'm sure our banking friends understand what that means. Raheel was also recently recognized as one of the top software CEOs of Asia in 2020 by the Software Report. Welcome, Raheel, on this webinar, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jay, for the introduction.
You're welcome. Nehul, of course, is an old-timer from this region in business development activities, working with various startups now, but with large corporations earlier like Oracle and Lionbridge. Nehul is recognized as one of the channel champions in Middle East by the Channel Middle East Award. He is a go-to-market enabler. Nehul spearheads the collaborative approach to business by building global partners and alliances network at Codebase. He is the one who was responsible in bringing us in as his partner for the Oman market. Thank you, Nehul, and thanks for joining. I leave it to Nehul to take it from here. Thank you once again, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Jay. Really excited. Good morning, everyone. Really excited about this session today. It's a topic that's very close to our heart out here at Codebase, and really hoping to make it an engaging conversation with you all. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Jay and IITC for arranging this whole session with you all in Oman. We are super excited about our partnership with them and our joint ability to bring our innovative solutions along with their vast services experience to you all in the country. So really looking forward to engaging with you all in the coming years. Once again, thank you for joining us. A couple of quick housekeeping rules. Please, if you have any questions during this session, please don't hesitate to ask. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please put down your questions out there, and our panelists will be more than happy to address them during this session today. Well, thank you very much, and over to you, Raheel.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jay, for the lovely introduction. And definitely, as Nehul mentioned, we look forward to this exciting topic, actually, which is a central to everyone's mind when it comes to digital banking, uh, how banks are doing it in the region, how banks are doing it outside the region, and focusing primarily on the customer experience, the customer journey, uh, making it a customer centric offering rather than a process or a system centric offering. And today we will basically take you through multiple areas in where we will discuss and will showcase how the market is evolving, both in the GCC and outside GCC. And of course, the COVID itself has given this opportunity to talk about how we can actually, as financial ecosystem, re-engineer, restructure our experiences, restructure the customer journeys to basically come out of this pandemic, this unfortunate pandemic which we were in for the last 12 months. And we expect that this will keep having an impact, an ongoing impact on the financial sector going on. So we'll take you through some statistics, some industry insights, and then we'll have a very open conversation to address what are the key challenges uh, from the banking sector. What should you be looking at when you're thinking about going digital? What is the approach? What are the key impacts areas which you can expect? And we'll try to keep it as open and engaging. So please share in your questions and answers, questions that we can answer it over the panel. So let me just start sharing my quick screen. Uh, I hope you're able to now see the screen.
Yes, we are, Raheel. Thank you.
So basically, today's topic is how do we design, when you talk about digital banking, how do we design superlative customer experience or customer-centric offerings when it comes to digital banking overall? As we all know, we talk about digital transformation. It has been on the agendas of the boards of the financial sector, and a lot of banks have already taken their first step within the transformation agenda by bringing in new technologies, looking at their infrastructure, looking at how they would like to expand and use the technology to their advantage and to their customer advantages. And today, what we want to focus is how does it reflects in the overall experience journey design for the customers, and the be it retail banking, be it SME, or be it even wealth management for that matter. So a quick run through about Codebase Technologies. Jay has already given a very good background on what we are doing. So basically, Codebase focuses on assisting and helping banks go digital. So we work with incumbent banks, traditional banks, be it both conventional or Islamic, and help them actually look at what are the key approaches or what are the key methodologies of going digital. So our award-winning product, DigiBank, has been designed and delivered to basically look at that pain point, that how can we bring in new customer experiences at a faster time, at a lower risk, and we can deliver those new experiences, new journeys, new product offerings to our clients rapidly. That's the overall background and idea about how we basically look at the digital banking. It is not just having a fancy mobile app or an internet banking application. that is just a foundation. What we look at digital banking is more towards how we can have end-to-end, straight-through processing, bring in operational efficiency, bring in an entire stakeholder engagement within the banking sector. Unfortunately, before it used to be only the customer-facing aspects, but when we talk about digital banking, we look at entire integration of the backends, of having straight-through processing, be it instant decision management, be it customer onboarding, or from a compliance perspective as well, from a KYC perspective. So we look at holistically from a digital banking perspective, and we bring in those consultative experiences for our clients and partners in the region and outside the region. And this is what we will basically be sharing our insights of how the market is panning out when it comes to digital in today's era. So as we all know, we've seen the impact, the havoc which COVID-19 had created on our economic system, our financial system, our social system, actually, communities. People are not able to meet, people are not able to transact, people are not able to do a lot of their activities which they used to do. And it has definitely impacted the banking and the financial sector. And if you can see, the response was 61% had to close down or reduce your banking hours at the branches, because it was a primarily branch driven operations. And they had to close down branches, they had to reduce the branch hours. So 61% had to do that. 6% of the banks who this under this survey suspended account openings due to this COVID-19, and it has definitely impacted their overall business. Whereas the banks have taken some positive actions when it comes to introducing contactless payments. So 18% of the banks were able to launch contactless payments during this period, be it QR, be it your wireless, the wireless based cards, and so forth. So then we also look at how the banks have looked at digital processes, implementing digital processes, and that's where the response have been very progressive. And 41% have looked at how to increase limits for either digital payments or contactless payments as a response to COVID-19. So that has been a overall high level customer centric interaction and impact when it comes to COVID-19 within global markets, in the financial markets per se. How the adoption has been of financial technology during this period and beyond. And if you can see, major centers, the major financial hubs, and the major population basically have adopted financial technology at a very good rapid speed and extent. And they see a collaborative approach coming in from a financial services and fintech perspective. And that's where our expertise lie on, we calling it the fintegration, having fintechs collaborate with the banks and be able to deliver new experiences, new offerings, new state-of-art technology platforms, which increases the adoption in the overall ecosystem. What we saw was transportation having the least of the collaboration with the financial services company, as we can rightly understand, due to lockdowns and no transportation or no going outside was allowed. So hence that had taken a toll. But overall, the financial services sector has collaborated and looks to collaborate from an adoption perspective within the overall space which they operate. So that's a very encouraging stats coming out from the global markets. And then we also looked at the bank's executives perspective. How do you guys look at it? 77% of the banking executives basically uh, say that their products and services will evolve, and they want to basically, they have that mindset that the products would get connected to different aspects of the business, of the community, of the lives of the people, of the customers, and it would evolve over the next 3 years. So they are very positive in terms of bringing out new products, bringing out connected services, be it IoT based financial payments, financial services, or overall product offering. 61% have a perspective that innovation is required to disrupt the industry, and rapid innovation is required. And that's where the new fundamental phenomena of how to do digital banking is rapid innovation, rapid deployment, rapid review, rapid feedback, and then be that agile to basically conclude and bring in that experiences and change and adapt to the new requirements of your customers. And 84% think that banks still needs to turn customers into their partners. We still see customers very centric in terms of what they can, how much deposit they can make, what kind of activities they can do from a financial perspective. But what we need to look at is a bigger picture, how we can get embedded within our customers' lives, the customer's lifestyle, the customer life cycle, what they are doing, how they're interacting with their peers, how they're interacting within community, and how can we get embedded and enable that that the partnership with our customers. And it is just not for those customers only who we need to look out for. We need to look out from a customer's perspective and customers to their own network as well. So it's basically a network effect what the banks want to achieve, and they feel that that is something which is missing, and they want to work on in over the next 12 to 18 months within their process and in their strategy. And 79% of the banking executives feel the need to enhance the uh, human to technology interactions as well, and applications which can basically help bring in or converge the human touch and having a technology driven solution to their customers. It is not just removing the human touch from the overall process, but having a balanced approach where the human centric or human converging technology applications are used to support and to service the customers. What are the top challenges when we develop such digital ecosystems? Uh, as you can see, uh, developing the platform itself is one of the key challenges, and hence we focus on coming up with those kind of platforms which can assist the banks and financial services company, financial service ecosystem overall, to basically focus primarily on their business rather than on the technology platform itself. There are fintech startups, there are other fintech solution providers and service providers who can actually bring in a well-established, mature platforms to the ecosystem. So the banks and the financial services do not need to reinvent the wheel, and they can basically leverage of what these guys or what these ecosystem players or stakeholders have already been able to achieve. So there is a huge requirement of collaboration, and that's where we come in from that approach perspective from a technology platform. But the key still remains that the banks need to focus on creating consistent experiences, be it their omni-channel experience, be it their internal experience for their own operational teams or customers. They need to work on those experiences. Re-engineering business processes is very important and critical in today's time, and hence the key challenges which was highlighted was on the customer experience journeys. And of course, then there are other key challenges when it comes to ecosystem prioritization Who do we become? How do we manage the ecosystem? How do we become a part of the ecosystem? Be it blockchain, be it machine learning, be it cross-border payments and transfers, or to the simplest of the extent of how to do digital KYC, connecting into a central authority at the government or telcos, or for that matter perspective. 29% challenges are seen from a product and service prioritization. And also that feeds back into the same thing, that how do we design, develop customer-centric products, customer-centric solutions, and embed ourselves as financial enablers within our customers' lives. And that's where the prioritization comes in handy. And of course, the partnership overall. It's a collaborative approach where we see, with collaboration, with partnerships, financial institutions can actually leapfrog, fast track their digital agenda, rather than investing too much within from going digital. So we support and we recommend a partnership driven approach to such digital offering. So what are your customers' preferences when they opt for any banking services or any bank partner? What are your customers actually looking for? And this is true for all kind of customer segments, be it your baby boomers, be it your Gen Zs, be it your millennial customers, all have these three common traits when it comes to their preferences. It has to be an effective solution to their need. It has to make sense for them to opt for that service. It's not anymore one size fits all. It has to be pertaining to their problem, their pain, their challenge, which you are effectively solving. From either payment perspective, either you're looking at remittances, either you're looking at from a financial loans perspective. So it has to be effective for the customers on their own terms and on their what they need at that point of time. That's important as a preference. The second one is engaging. How are you able to engage your customers? Are you just giving them out information, or are you actually advising or telling the customers what they should be looking at, using different deep financial technologies? Are you able to advise the customer? Are you able to engage them on their own terms, on their own time, in their period of convenience, rather than 9 to 5 of what banks' convenient times are? So engagement is a key element of what the customer looks at when it starts looking at any financial partner from that perspective. And then how efficient those institutions are there to deliver those propositions. It doesn't make sense to wait for a mortgage finance approval for 3 weeks, or a credit card to come after 7 days, or my account to be opened after 4 weeks, because there was a manual process and requirements and a bureaucratic approach to services. And hence efficiency becomes key, because today our customers are actually dealing with highly efficient, highly automated platforms on social media, be it your Googles, be it your Amazon, be it your Facebook, be it your Netflix of the world. They have basically got that efficiency sorted out. And that's where our customers, from a financial perspective, miss out when they deal with their banks. Imagine a customer who wants to do a payment on a platform, or who needs to transfer a payment, and adding a beneficiary takes 2 working days. That kills the entire customer's experience, and it's not efficient either for the customer or even for the bank's perspective. And that's where we, as the enablers or the ecosystem players, need to come and address those challenges. So what are the key principles, what the bank should be looking when they talk about going digital? So we've highlighted those 4 key areas, which we feel that they are a building blocks or the key principles for any financial institution who wants to go digital. The first is customer focus. Without that, you cannot build your digital offering, you cannot build your digital go-to-market strategies. So you need to bring in that people first perspective. It's not the system first perspective, it's not the process first perspective. It is what our customers are expecting from us as an institution. We need to keep them as a center point, and then work our way backward and say, okay, what are those perspectives? What are the outcome which we want to achieve? And then what do we need to change within our internal processes? And what kind of systems do we need to bring in to enable that? Instead, in the last century, in the last 10-15 years, the idea was we can bring in systems and we will be bound by those systems. What are the limitations and what those systems can do for us and for our customers? Now the tables have turned. It is now customers wants, what the customer needs are, and how do we ensure that we are able to deliver those needs through technology enablement. How do you achieve that? Uh, and what is the idea behind customer focus? Is to deliver the promise, saying so that we are digital, and actually having your operational team sitting manually and doing the bureaucratic process does not delivers that experience. And it is very much evident when we talk, when we converse with our clients, when we communicate with our clients, and we are not able to engage with the right data, the right information. And that's where the principle of promise, what we promised our customers, we need to deliver an entire process on a digital offering or a digital platform perspective. How do you achieve that? And what should be the underlying principles for that? Is your frictionless API integration. This is how the systems can communicate among each other, how banks can basically come up with new experiences, new propositions, is through frictionless APIs. And that has been the center of the new technology platforms. And we have seen in our experiences, financial institutions, their legacy systems, be it a core, be it a loan management system, or be it even a CRM, they lack those modern APIs which would allow you to design and develop new customer experience or digital customer experiences. And that's where you need to focus as a financial institution to see, do you have or your system providers have an API first approach to solving your problems, or still they are in the same mindset of batch processing, manual processing, and so forth. And of course, principles to go digital, the last thing which changes the entire spectrum of how we deliver our platforms is leveraging the cloud. As you would all know, cloud is getting enabled in multiple countries. The regulators are very open and very proactive about bringing and harnessing the cloud technologies to the benefit of of the ecosystem. And we are strong believers that cloud technology can change how we do business from an IT perspective. How do we deliver our applications? How do we manage applications? How do we manage security? All of that. So it has an overarching impact, and cloud being an agenda should be one of the key foundational elements what the bank should be looking as part of their as a go-to digital strategy overall. So how do you look at all of this from a customer's perspective, and then how do you able to exploit the available data to deliver a new experience? So first of all is your needs. How do you understand customer needs? Banks gather a lot of information, a lot of data, be it transactional, be it cards, be it offerings. We exactly know what our customers are doing, how much salary they are getting, where they're spending, what are they spending on. Uh, Everything, we have that access, and we need to be able to harness that data, exploit it, and understand what the customer needs are and drive and advise them from that perspective. And then utilize that information to see what our customers affordability is, what are they spending on, how can we benefit them, how can we deliver. And you'll see a lot of platforms in the European region, the US region, have been focusing on the personal financial management aspect of the customer's life cycle. And that's where how you identify, how do you learn about customers preferences, their needs, and translate them into what should be the next best action. And then harness the what customers disposable income is, how can you benefit that, how can you increase that, or how can you basically advise them on such area of information, because these three critical areas can allow financial institutions to come up with new propositions, new digital offerings at a rapid scale, in a rapid format, and they be able to deliver completely new propositions altogether. So coming at the end of that, the whole process of what should be banks should be looking at. So we came up with 5 key areas of a checklist from a banking perspective, that what should the bank's key executives should be talking about. Do you have a mobile first approach? That's very key. Gone all the days for web and internet your browser based or laptop based. Today your customers are mobile first. They need everything on their mobile. They need to be all the way connected at all times. So do you have a mobile first approach to either deliver your services or to service your customers or to offer your customers? So that's a very important element which you should, as a banking executive, should have within your agenda as a mobile first approach. The second one is, are you disciplined enough to basically engage or develop or have a fintech engagement model? Because it takes time, it takes patience of having and nurture the fintech startups, or basically bring them into the ecosystem and make them a strength for yourself rather than a competition from that perspective. And I think the regulators have seen that gap, and they have they've pushed fintechs to basically come up with new models to basically disrupt and try to basically collaborate with the incumbents. So you need to have, do you as a bank look at fintech engagement as a discipline approach or not? That's a key area when we are talking about going digital, because you need to you should be able to leverage on the good things of what fintech startups can bring to your customer journey and the customer experience. So do you have a technology first culture? Do you have that mindset? And from a technology first perspective, it does not mean that uh, you should be compromising on certain elements. It's more about how can we use technology to deliver uh, new security, enhanced governance, enhanced risk management. So it takes care of a complete entire spectrum from external perspective as well as internal perspective. So the mindset should be there. Are you, and the next thing is, are you embracing open banking or the open banking concepts? As you know, recently, MENA FinTech Association and Codebase, with partnership with Arab Monetary Fund and other MasterCard and other respected brands, basically came up with an open banking report from a MENA perspective. This was the first ever report, worked with the regulators, with the banking associations, partners in the region, and we came up with a complete eye-opening uh, report on open banking and how it can benefit the MENA region from that perspective, the financial institution, the customers at the end, and how it can actually result in your financial inclusion projects, your payments, cross-border engagement with regulators, KYC, and so forth. So, are you embracing the open banking phenomena? That's the key element. And the last one is, how are you looking at reducing or eliminating the back office operations? That's critical. Straight to processing, how are you able to deliver, and cutting down SLAs and cutting down manual processes to eradicate your errors, issues, delays, and breaks in the journey. So those are the 5 key areas what we feel should be on the top agenda of any bank wishing to go digital, and how they are preparing themselves for the next wave of digital banking. So that sums up how we look at it and how we are helping institutions go digital. Jay, over to you.
Hi, thanks, Raheel, for the great presentation. It was very informative, and I hope our participants enjoyed as much as I did. So, coming to some of the key aspects which you mentioned during this presentation, I wanted to check, what do you think are the key challenges today to go digital for any bank for that matter, especially banks in the region?
So see, because it's a new industry, it's a new process, it's a new concept, there are always challenges. In our experiences, what we've seen that the digital leaders, as we call them, or the first movers in the digital space, have able to overcome these challenges. So the first challenge, the primary challenge, remains in the mindset. What is the mindset of the organization? Are they looking to change? Are they looking to be customer centric? And are they willing to take those decisions, and are they willing to change their processes, their mindset on how to deal with these challenges going forward? So that is one critical element. The other challenge what we see within the incumbents is the legacy systems, the support of the legacy systems. Do they enable the banks? And in certain times, those are very old systems, which are not able to service or come up to the demand of what our customers need today. And from that perspective, what Codebase did, looking at that pain area, main challenge, because if you start a digital transformation agenda in a bank, it would take you somewhere between 18 to 24 months, and by that time, you've already lost the market. So that journey is too huge, too big, and too long. So what we come up with an approach is agile approach, bringing in and leveraging from the legacy systems. And we have delivered experiences to our banking clients where we were able to take up their existing legacy systems and deliver a complete new experience on top of it. So that is a key challenge which remains for the banks today, and they shy away that saying, okay, if I have a legacy system, I need to first take upon that transformation change. It will take me two years to do that digital core and those kind of things. But what we come in and say, we can actually bring in certain experiences, certain areas which we can actually fast track your digital movement. You can actually go live, for example, from that perspective to the market, and keep changing it in a bit by bit manner rather than a rip and replace structure. So those two challenges do come up very often. And the third challenge is, what do we offer our customers? Do we still keep offering the same services what we were doing in the branch, or should we be looking at something completely innovative, completely new? And how many of our internal stakeholders are willing to take that risk and challenge? So those are the three key areas which basically uh, addresses your question basically on what kind of challenges do these banks face. There is no limitation in terms of what they want. Uh, the banking executives are well educated, well aware about the financial technologies, the new technology things, new offerings. But the key challenge remains the overall push from a mindset perspective and the legacy system perspective.
Okay, excellent. So I would let our guests also ask questions. This is the right time to probably come up with your questions, if any. Nehul, are they able to ask questions online, or what's the format?
Yes, they are. We've already got a few questions in the Q&A section.
Okay.
So definitely. But Jay, if you have any more questions before I start asking Raheel from the audience, the pool of audience questions also. But yeah, if you have any of those, please do share.
Well, I'm not a banker, but from thinking from a banking customer perspective,
Sure.
uh, what I could ask for is, okay, you want to go digital, right? Everybody wants to go digital, especially I think the pandemic has probably created that environment which actually sort of forces people to go digital now, even if they don't want to. So what happens to the existing model of your business model, right? So because digital is a very different way of approach. I mean, we faced it even as an IT company, right? So providing support to our customers, how do you do it remotely? So those questions come in, right? So what would happen to a bank who wants to go, I mean, with their existing models when they go digital?
So see, a lot of discussions and a lot of there are different schools of thoughts on what will happen to the banking sector when it comes to their operating models. What we see, we take a very a balanced approach on that. So there will be an existence, coexistence, as we say, of their existing operating models and the new digital operating model. So the operating model will keep evolving over a time. It will never be a shutdown and a new thing coming up. So it would be a progressive and an evolutionary process where there would be a balanced approach between the branch-based banking, their existing banking, and the new digital offering altogether. And over a period of time, the shift will automatically come in when you talk about digital offerings, because that's what the demand is, and the demand is rising. And pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has actually accelerated that requirement. So you will see that there will be certain requirements of the operating model, the existing operating models available. They need to be there. They bring in that stability within the industry, and they will progressively and evolve over a period of time, and shifting things step by step to more digital processes and digital offering.
Okay.
Brilliant.
One of the,
Uh,
sorry, no.
right. Oh,
One of
I
the,
actually like
yeah,
that question, Jack. Very, very it may sound basic, but you're right, right? It has a much deeper impact, right? And I think I saw a question from one of the audience members, in fact, which is a good segue into that, maybe, and Raheel may be able to expand. So which is, if you don't mind, before you ask your next question, if I can ask Raheel to. So one of the questions we've got from one of the attendees is, if banks are looking to change, right, but have a tech stack that they cannot sunset for the next 36 months, right? How does Codebase come in to help in fast track their digital transformation and or customer experience focus while overhauling is not an option? I think it's a brilliant question. And Raheel, it kind of flows into what Jay was also asking. So if you can maybe expand a little bit more on that space.
See, uh, this is the key challenge, as I was mentioning, because you do not have that liberty or the time to wait for 36 months or 24 months to wait for the digital transformation to kick in. You need to go digital tomorrow. You need to be able to leverage what you have today, and come up with a solution, come up with a proposition which would allow you to come up first, fast, rapidly, to test the markets, because these are all virgin markets. These are new things happening in the industry. So you should be able to experiment. You should be able to come up with new proposition, test them, take it out to the market, take their feedback, come back, and have a process where you can actually adapt to the changes. So how do you ensure that that process works out? And Codebase has been assisting its partner banks in the region. So for example, we took Bahrain's first Islamic bank digital in under 3 months. And the idea was that we need to look at smaller aspects, utilizing as much as legacy providers, which they already have, not moving them out from the ecosystem, leveraging and coming up with the technology which we bring in to help banks actually leverage and then develop, and over time basically offer a complete new experience. So today what we see is the digital offerings have increased. We are able to come up with a new product proposition every month or every 2 weeks for that matter. And that has completely changed how we have been doing business before. If previously we used to do 1 or 2 releases in a year, and we used to wait for everything and compile everything into one shot. Now it's a new way of doing business altogether. 2 weeks time, you have a new proposition. It's live in the market.
Oh,
You see the feedback, you take the approach, you take and you adapt, you change. And there is no harm in changing rapidly, because that's the whole objective. Look at your social media platforms. They come up with a new feature, they will test it out, they will come back with the feedback, they will either remove it or they will enhance it, or they make it as part of their overall proposition. So we need to take that approach, and that is very important. To from a digital banking perspective, you do not have the liberty to wait for 36 months.
Brilliant. Thank you. I think, Jay, before you ask, I know you've got a couple of more questions that you wanted to ask, Raheel, but one of the audience members has asked a question which actually flows again very well into the case you were talking about with the Islamic Bank in Bahrain, Raheel. The question that is there is, what is your view on the adoption of digital banking tech for an Islamic bank, right? In terms of global adoption scenarios and all, and what has been your experience that you can share around this in terms of how easy has it been for them to adopt, and you know, what have or the challenges they faced vis-a-vis a conventional bank in adopting digital banking technology?
See, overall, both conventional banks and Islamic banks have been trying to work on their digital agendas. Unfortunately, the Islamic banks have been a bit lagging behind the conventional counterparts, but not too much. Uh, but it gives them an opportunity to actually jump ahead of their conventional counterparts by actually adopting newer technologies and beat them to the market. And that's what we see a huge value for Islamic financial institutions to leapfrog, to adapt to those new technologies and come up to the market and able to capture major market share, going through this rapid agile model. As compared to the followers, they should be becoming leaders. And this is the opportunity the technology enablement can give them and make them a digital leader within the financial ecosystem.
Thank you. Jay, we do have a couple of more audience questions, but I know you also had a couple of questions that you wanted to ask Raheel. So why don't you ask them first, and then I'll ask the audience questions post that.
see, as a user, right? So I'm a banking user. I'm not a banker. One of the main concerns which we have, and which we're seeing the trend of so many security attacks and so many scams online and whatnot. So what really scares a customer like me is, how do I trust an online platform? How do I ensure that my transactions are safe and I don't get swindled by somebody, a hacker or whatever. I mean, I'm a technology provider myself, so I do understand. There's a lot of bad things happening online. So
And it's a reality where we are in.
yes,
The more
absolutely.
technology comes in, there are more areas which we need to secure ourselves, and that's why you need to have, the bank needs to have a overall consensus and a stakeholder buy-in. It cannot be the siloed approach which it used to be before. It has to be an engagement model within the bank and outside the bank. So if I'm talking about a KYC process, we need to ensure that compliance is taken care of, risk is taken care of, security is taken care of. You cannot make them separate it out. It cannot be a siloed approach. It has to be an engagement model where we bring in all the stakeholders on a central platform and basically help and identify. First of all, you need to identify these challenges and these threats. Then you need to basically come up with a proposition which allows you to manage those things and reduces your risk. Now, looking at digital offering and technology enablement, it can actually reduce your risk on a higher level. So it can actually assist in creating that trust factor with your customers. And you need to make sure that you educate your customers that what kind of uh, programs you have undertaken as a bank, or what kind of actions you have undertaken as a bank, and what are you looking at. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, these are some of the areas which have to be worked on. Blockchain, IoT, which can drastically reduce your risk and create that trust factor within your customer base.
Okay. All right. I think, Nehul, you can go ahead, ask some of the questions coming from the
Brilliant. Sure.
audience.
Perfect. So we have a couple of ones, and I think let me start with the first one, right? Uh, Raheel, you spoke about the adoption of digital banking, financial technology services globally, right? You referred to some of the leading players globally in terms of how they've been adopting. Can you shed some light in terms of how the Middle East has taken this in the last, especially since start of COVID, right? In terms of the adoption of digital banking technology or practice, within the region. Can you shed some light on that?
See, the MENA region, because of its sheer population, it had to take that approach. It had to take a proactive approach within this pandemic situation. And I think the MENA institutions have taken sorts of action. They have shown keen interest of actually changing that mindset and adopting to the new technology offerings in the market. I still see a lot of opportunities where the banks can benefit, looking at uh, simple things: digital onboarding, digital KYC, instant decision management, integrated decision management. There are key areas, RegTech from that perspective. How do you basically look at uh, different kind of stakeholders, different kind of uh, customer base, your internal customers, your FinCons, your financial management, your regulators. They're also your customers. So there's a huge opportunity, and I think the MENA organizations uh, being proactively looking at this technology enablement and technology adoption, but there's a lot of things to be done in the region, and we wish that and we hope that the financial ecosystem would take this thing on a rapid basis and try to bring in enablement at a faster scale in the coming quarters and coming years.
All right, perfect. Thank you. We see some more queries coming in. Um, I think one of the queries is with the growth of fintech within this region, right? How critical is it for banks to leverage this new ecosystem, and how does Codebase help with this? And I think you did allude to this point in one of your slides, but I think and I personally, if you ask me, like you to answer from two perspectives, right? One is adoption or engagement, the collaborative approach with the broader fintech ecosystem, and the impact, benefit, or even the cons for a banking and financial institution, right? With this whole adoption perspective, if you can share some, right?
See, as I was mentioning, one of the key pillar stones of the digital ecosystem is being able to partner up with newer, fresh startups and fresh mindsets. Because as an institution, as an incumbent institution, we are bogged down by our own rules and regulations and our own internal processes, old legacy processes. We need a third-party perspective. We need an external perspective who can actually come and support the overall agenda, what we're trying to achieve. It's not that the banks do not want to do that. Banks want to do that, but the problem is they are in that mindset or that culture, which is very difficult to change overnight. But when you talk about this collaboration impact or the collaboration effect with these startups or fintechs can bring in, it can actually help and break down those barriers among the institution itself, within the institution. And that helps shorten down decision-making process. People are now very much aware, and they would like to listen to the fintechs and see how they can actually collaborate. But the problem comes in is all from a fintech perspective. Are the fintechs, uh, do they have enterprise mentality? Do they have enterprise mindset to come and deal with a bank? And that's where the key area of our service comes in, that we basically enable fintechs to be able to deal with the banks and look at banks how they deal with fintechs. Security, enterprise, looking at proposition, joint proposition. So you should be able to leverage the benefits from each of those ecosystem partners.
Brilliant. And I think I'd like you to expand on that last point a little, because there's a small segue question in terms of what's the fintech matchmaking model that we bring in, right? And where globally we've seen quite a few of the larger banks like Stanchart and all who've also built their own fintech ecosystem internally. They've created a sandbox environment. They've created innovation labs, right? How does Codebase help with that aspect, for the banking and financial institutions in our regions?
The ecosystem play has to be looked at a higher level rather than an institutional level. An institution can deal with certain number of fintechs or collaborative partners. We talk about at a national level or a regional level. And when we come with our proposition is, we work with different clients, different banks, and we understand different needs. What we can bring on that scale is a best practice from one project to a best practice to another project. So that is one area of how we look at it. But the second thing is, we are also enabling the regulators, the regional associations, on how to implement that ecosystem mindset, ecosystem play. And by bringing some of our solutions like the digital lab solution to a regulator, and Oman is ripe for that. Actually, Oman has been proactive in actually bringing that kind of a mindset and a proposition in the country, where they would like to actually engage fintechs, they would like to engage banks on a shared model, on a shared platform, which reduces the bank should be focusing on their business. Banks should be looking at how do you create propositions in partnership with fintechs, rather than they focusing on managing fintechs. So there has to be a national level or a regional level ecosystem play, which can benefit the overall stakeholders, overall industry. Uh, you have now fintech associations across the region. MENA Fintech Association has been doing a fantastic job in the MENA region. They have been reaching out. They have been creating awareness. They have their outreach program with the regulators, with the banking associations, fintechs, and I think this is the need of an hour. So this needs to be done in order to be able to benefit and leverage from the overall the positivity within that collaboration.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you for that feedback and insight, Rahil. One of the queries that I had was, again, in reference to one of the points you mentioned on your last slide, was referring to the open banking scenario, right? And you did mention about your collaboration with the Arab Monetary Fund, MENA FinTech Association, and a lot of other collaborators in coming out with an approach document to some extent, right? What are your views overall, right? I mean, one is, of course, from a regional standpoint, right? But if you can address that whole open banking phenomena, let's look at it that way, for a broader perspective, but from not just from a regulator standpoint, but from also a banking institution and the benefit from a customer standpoint, right? As to why this makes sense. What's your view? Or it doesn't make sense, dependent on, but would be good to get your feedback on and thoughts on that one.
Open banking have shown its benefits in different markets. We've seen the benefits in Europe. We've seen the height of innovation which has been achieved using the open banking, and with the regulatory push and support for open banking. So open banking has its benefits, and it's not about just payments or just having within an ecosystem of the banking sector. but it opens up the financial services to non-financial ecosystem. And that's where we see a lot of value bringing in that experience, or as we say, embedding financial services within our life, in our customers' lifestyle and life cycle. That plays a huge role. And we see open banking creating a game-changing, disruptive model to generate revenue stream for the banks, uh, getting new customers to the banks, and new way of doing lifestyle banking. And definitely it impacts a complete experience change for the partners within the open banking, be it financial partners or non-financial partners. So open banking is something which the bank should be openly looking at. The regulators need to play their role, play their part in this, for this to become successful. Till now, it is primarily on the private sector which have been trying to create that awareness. But I feel with the new report and the participation of 13 central banks from the MENA region participating in this report shows that they are ready to take this challenge and take it heads on to deliver the support what is required from a regulator.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Raheel. I think we've done with the questions. We're coming at to the kind of the end of the session. But Jay, over to you. If you have, or Raheel, any closing remarks from your side, right, before we hand over to Jay to close the session.
So see, from the market perspective, banks do not have another option of not to go digital. That is the need, and that has to happen. And every bank understands that. It's all about how do we look at, what approach do we look at, how do we make sure that we are agile enough to be able to deliver the experiences in the right time, because if we are looking at 18 to 24 months of that period, we have lost the game up front. We need to look at how can we shorten that time span, how can we go digital to the market faster, adapt, learn, and bring in new experiences on a continuous basis. So I would basically, my suggestion or my uh, recommendation to the banks would be not to bring in too larger extent of their programs, cut it down into smaller areas, pick up step by step. And this is how fintechs have been doing. They have democratized every element of the banking side, and they've picked up one section, one element, uh, fast tracked it, uh, uh, evolved it, and made it perfect, and then moved on to the new one. So that is something which the banking sector should be looking at.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
from my side, thank you all for really having joined today. I appreciate your time, your patience. I hope you found the session informative, right? Jay, if you can have any closing remarks from your side, including on the partnership with Codebase and the value we both could jointly bring to the market in Oman, and then of course, close the session at your side. Thank you.
Okay. To start with, thank you, Raheel, for your thoughts. It was very informative, and I'm sure our customers would have gained something today from your talk. Thank you, Nehul, for arranging all this and for arranging this webinar. Uh, uh, Thank you very much for joining from the participants who are there today. I know it is a closing year time, so a lot of people were busy, so some of them couldn't join. But we are here with Codebase. Codebase is our partner, and we are very happy to bring them over for a one-to-one session anytime you would like to. So please let us know. My team is there today on this call, and most of you know them. So they will get in touch with you for taking this further. If you need any help in any way, Codebase, Raheel, Nehul, all of them are available. So please let us know. Thank you once again for joining us today, and we look forward to meeting you soon. Thank you.
Thank you all, and have a good end of the year and a great start to the next year.
Yes, season greetings to all. Merry Christmas and New Year.
Absolutely. Merry
Thank
Christmas
you
anyway.
Jay, for having
Thank you
us.
all.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot. Thank you. Bye.